Hi, my name is Yasin Rashid, and I'll be going to a level one graded reader as a sample Zoom class. Now, the graded readers are books written with different level of language learners. So, for instance, we use Soñar un Crimen in our basic Spanish class. It's a book written with 400 words. And many people do not see a correlation between reading and speaking. But if you think with reading, you expand your vocab and also you improve the retention level of words in your memory. So reading can make you a fluent speaker. In fact, it's the fastest way of becoming a fluent speaker because in no other system can teach you words at such a rapid pace. And also, everything is presented in the context of the story, so retention is much easier. So I'll go through this like a couple of sentences of the graded reader, and so you'll have an understanding how this whole system works. So that whatever I will be saying, I'll be also like typing in a chat file, so you can use this chat file in conjunction with this Zoom recording. So it's based on the level one graded reader called Soñar un Crimen, which is a book which is written with 400 words. So we'll go through the first couple of lines, and you will have an understanding how this graded reader method works. And in Spanish, there are three types of verbs. The one which end with AR, which is called the first conjugation, and then the verbs that end with ER. Those verbs are called second conjugation. And escribir, to write, that is that is the third conjugation. So, but if you want to say, let's say you want to say I speak, so you would say hablo, you would drop the AR and replace it with O, and it will become I speak. So in English, you see the pronoun separate from the verb, but in Spanish, the ending tells you which person you're talking about. And likewise, this comer would become como, which means I eat. And escribo would mean I write. So if you see, the first few letters of the verbs are the same. So only the ending change. These verbs are called regular verbs. And then there are some verbs which are irregular. For instance, if you have this verb saber, which means to know. So if you say, I know, you would not say sabo, you would say se. So se means I know. I know. So if you change it to, if you put no in front of it, then you have no se, which means I don't know. Now, if you have the graded reader, we are going through the first line of the graded reader. So it says no se, and this word como. Como means how, and this word empezar means to begin. Now, if you combine these words together, you say no sé cómo empezar. So this would no sé cómo empezar. If you put the meaning together, meaning of these individual words together, so you'll get the sentence. I don't know how to begin. So if you see the no sé cómo, that is the structural part. So you can use any verb and build another sentence. For instance, if you have this verb nadar, which means to swim, and if I say no sé cómo nadar, that would become I don't know how to swim. Or if you have this verb cocinar, which means to cook. And if you say no sé cómo cocinar, would become I don't know how to cook. So once you have internalized this structure, you can build wide variety of sentences. The most common problem that most language students have that they get a little discouraged by the fact that they keep on forgetting words and structure. And the reason is that if you do not have a good overall understanding of the language, then your ability to retain will be kind of limited. So in the beginning, it's perfectly normal to see a word and to forget it, because typically it takes 10 to 15 times. You have to relate the word to its meaning 10 to 15 times before you can retain it permanently. So the key is like and that is the reason in these graded reader they have use the same words over and over in different contexts, so that will help you retain them, that will help you internalize them. Because once you leave a language class, it's just you and your memory. And if you have retained those words well, then you'll have no trouble recalling them. And speaking is not a problem once you can recall. The speaking only becomes problem when you have not retained the words, or you do not know them. Because in a real conversation, if you think about adults speak at a rate of 100 words per minute. If they talk to each other for 30 minutes, 3,000 words will go back and forth. So it means that you need to have a strong vocabulary in order to carry on a sustainable conversation. Because in many conversational classes, you will typically repeat phrases, but you will run out of phrases in less than a minute. So it all boils down to how well you can understand your conversational partner and how well you can build your own sentences on the go. So now we move on to the next sentence, which is para means for, and me is me. So para me would become for me. So this word es, that means it is. Comes from this verb ser. Ser means to be. So if you say soy, that is I am. If you happen to have that essential Spanish grammar, this information is on page 32. And also you can use this is a very useful website. It's called SpanishDict.com. You can put any verb in there. You can get all the different conjugations, and it gives you meanings. It also gives you like several examples which you can see how a particular word can be used in different contexts. So ser means to be, and soy is like I am. And for instance, if you change the ser to somos, that becomes we are. And if you say son, it means they are. So, and when you say es, it can mean he is, she is, or it is. And this word facile, that means easy. See, it's the same, like a lot of words which are similar in English, like you have the word facilitate, so that comes with facile. So facile means easy. So from the context, we would say that es facile would be it is easy. So when you say no es facile, it becomes it is not easy. No es fácil, it is not easy. And escribir means to write. if you combine these together, no es fácil escribir. It is not easy to write. It is not easy to write. No es fácil escribir. It is not easy to write. Now, in the beginning, the speed of reading would be very slow, and that is perfectly normal. So, once you familiarize yourself with like 2,000 commonly used words, you see that your reading will also become fluent. And again, you have to be fluent in understanding before you can be fluent in speaking, because your conversations depend on how well you can understand your conversational partner. Okay, para mí no es fácil. For me, it is not easy to write. And this word, esta carta, means this letter. So para mí no es fácil escribir esta carta would become, for me, it is not easy to write this letter. So if I write this whole sentence, it would be para mí no es fácil escribir esta carta. So it's really quite simple, because once you know the individual meaning of individual words and then you put them together in a sentence, the whole sentence will make sense. But the only thing is that you have to have some familiarity with how verbs are conjugated, how they change their form to like the tense and the person, like whether it's present, past, or it's like first person, I, you, him, he, and she, and that's where the variations come. And again, it's important for you to see individual variation multiple times, because when you're speaking, you do not have time to conjugate. You, like for instance, if you want to say I know, this word say should come to you right away. I mean, it's good to know that it's like an irregular form of the verb saber in first person, but it's the real experience that enables you to recall these words fast. And reading is a great way to interact with the language, because if you're a beginner or like a low intermediate student, like speaking is not possible. Although many languages say speak, speaking is the best way to learn a language. But if you cannot put words together, and if you do not know what they mean or how to use them, you cannot build your own sentence and just speak. So getting to know the language is the first step every language learner should take. And then we move on to this word pero, that means but. Now, if you have the book, that's great. But I'll be writing the entire sentence into this chat, so you'll be able to see it over there as well. Pero. Now we come to another Spanish word, poder, which means to be able to. Now, if you conjugate this verb, like when you say puedo, which means I can. Poder by itself means to be able to or can. And when you say puedo, I can. Now, let's say you have this verb trabajar, which means work. Now, if you put all these two words together, puedo trabajar, that means I can work. So puedo trabajar, puedo I can, trabajar work. So whatever verb you have, like for instance, cantar means to sing or sing. So when you say puedo cantar, that'll become I can sing. So puedo is like, so another thing is a non-action verb. So if you conjugate the first verb, like by which mean if you change the form to incorporate the person, you don't have to conjugate the second verb, like that remains the same. Let's say if you add a no in front, like to say no puedo trabajar. So this would become I cannot work. So no puedo trabajar would become, and as you see that the length of sentence increases, so does its meaningfulness. Typically, in a conversation, you should be able to build like 5 to 6 word sentences on the go, and that would help you to engage in meaningful conversations. So no puedo trabajar is I cannot work. Let's say you may have heard this word like aquí, for instance. Aquí means here. If I add, if I say no puedo trabajar aquí, so this sentence will become I cannot work here. So you just add aquí, and then this whole sentence becomes I cannot work here. So now there's like another verb, así, which means like this. So if you say no puedo trabajar así, this would become I cannot work like this. Now the sentence that we have here in the text is seguir. Seguir means to carry on, to continue, to continue. So seguir means to carry on or to continue. So now if you have U between G and I, the sound goes directly to I, so you pronounce it as seguir. And there are a few rules of pronunciation. When you have A, it is always going to be pronounced A as in father. Like in English, you have CUT, cut, BUT, but, and PUT becomes put. That does not happen in Spanish because the way it is written, the way it's spoken. And also, once you can read with comprehension, it's very easy to relate it to the spoken Spanish. And that would be like the listening comprehension is very easy once you know what the words mean. And also listening and reading are two important input activities, and obviously you cannot engage in them unless you understand it, because if you have to, because you cannot listen to something that you don't understand. So understanding is the first step. So A is in father, and then you have T. T is in 10, and then you have the I, which means see, and O as in rose, and U as in shoot. So and the rest of the words are pretty straightforward. Like D is like the, and again this the graded readers also come with the audio. So once you go through the graded reader and understand it, and then you can listen to whatever is written, and it'll become easier for you to understand. So now we move on to the next sentence, which says, now we talk about a little bit about the progressive tense. So this word comprar, which means to buy. Now if you change it to comprando, that will become buying. And if you have this escribir, this would escribir means to write. And when you change it to escribiendo, it will become writing. You see the AR verbs that come ando, IR, and also if you have, let's say, for instance, you have comer, which means to eat, and if you want to make a progressive of it'll be comiendo is like eating. Now, escribiendo is writing. Now you have this word estar, which means to be. Like say you have this word estás, like you are. You must have heard people say like "Cómo estás?" How you are. In Spanish, you can't flip like "Are you?" "How are you?" You have to say "you are," and from the context, people would know. And están means they are, and estamos is we are, And when you say estoy, that means I am. So when you combine this estoy escribiendo, the I am writing. Estoy escribiendo is I'm writing. Now this word te is an object pronoun which means you. Now in English, for instance, you have this verb ver which means to see. And if you change it to veo, it means I see. And the word order is a little bit different. When in Spanish you say te veo, it means I see you. Like you see the te comes in front of veo, and when you say I see you, it's different. So te veo is like I see you. And we saw like estoy escribiendo is like I'm writing. So if you put te in front of te estoy escribiendo would be you, I am writing. So te estoy escribiendo is like you, I am writing. That's how it's translated. It looks a little awkward, but the thing is that once you have seen te estoy escribiendo multiple times and you want to say I'm writing to you, so you just put te here because you have get so much used to seeing it this way. So that comes with repeated interaction. So if you go through a few graded readers, you will see it enough time to internalize it. Now, so te estoy escribiendo is like I'm writing it to you, and this word desde means from. So from, and una means indefinite article and this word fria, that means cold. H is silent, so it's habitación, which means room. So te estoy escribiendo. Now I'll write the whole sentence and then you can see how everything is connected together. Te estoy escribiendo desde una fría habitación de hotel. So that's the entire sentence. So te estoy escribiendo desde una fría habitación de hotel. So another difference is that in English you would combine the nouns. You'd say hotel room, but in Spanish like habitación, room of hotels. You cannot combine verbs, nouns like this. So then he goes on to describe the hotel. So un hotel means a hotel. And if you have, let's say you have this word barato, that means cheap. If you combine this like un hotel, barato, that would be a hotel, cheap. Like in English, you would say a cheap hotel, but in Spanish, most of the time the adjective that comes after the noun. And for instance, another example would be casa. Casa means house, and blanca means white. So when you combine these, it's say Casa Blanca. Plaza Blanca would be house white, which in fact which means like White House. So it goes on to describe the hotel, un hotel barato, a hotel cheap, en una calle means a street. So una calle en perdida Perdida means lost. Una calle perdida means a street lost. By which he means like a street deserted, nobody knows about, like forsaken. And un pueblo is like a town. Town. You ever been like close to Buford Highway or Jimmy Carter? You'd see them on markets like Mercado del Pueblo, town market. So pueblo is a town. And Greece is gray. Now, Greece is gray, the color, and it also means dull and depressing. So, so un pueblo gris means a gray town, by which it means like a dull, depressing town. So I'll write the whole sentence. Soon it says un hotel barato en una calle perdida en un pueblo gris. So if you look at the whole thing, un hotel barato, a cheap hotel in a lost street in a dull, depressing time in a town. Obviously, you'll not be talking like this, but you can use these individual words. And the title of this book is Soñar un crimen. Soñar means to dream, and crimen is crime. So soñar un crimen means dreaming a crime. So this is like a complete story with an up and downs and with ups and downs and a lot of time the students get interested in the story, and the curiosity of what happens next make them learn new words. In fact, on this level, there are 8 or 9 graded readers which are available at this level in this Just Leer en Español series. These are published by University of Salamanca in Spain, which is like more than 1,000 years old university for language learners. And it really teaches you how to speak the language. And I know a lot of people give you a very casual, who are interested in selling you the system, will you give you a very casual view of speaking. But the speaking is the most challenging aspect, because when you read, you have words in front of you. But when you're speaking, the words have to come from your memory. And it's just like reading is taking an open book test, and speaking is taking a closed book test. But the thing is that if you cannot read with comprehension, it means that you're not passing the open book test, and it's not very likely that you're going to pass the closed book version of it. And but again, by reading to a certain extent, you will see all these words will become part of your active memory, and then it'll become very easy for you to speak. Now we move on to the next sentence, which is no sé. Again, we saw like say means I know, and when you say no sé, it becomes I don't know. So no sé would become I don't know. Desde means since, and cuando means when. Again, this have verb vivir, which means to live. And when you say vivo, that becomes I am living. And aquí means here. So if I write this sentence again, it becomes no sé desde cuando vivo aquí. So no sé desde cuando vivo aquí means I don't know since when I'm living here. In other words, what he's saying is like I don't know for how long I've been living here. I know in translation it does sound like a little awkward. So I don't know since when I'm living here. And again, if you keep on saying it and repeatedly in its context, it will make more sense, because in the beginning the word order is different, the structure is different. It takes a little bit some degree of interaction to be comfortable with the language. Now we move on to, there's the verb I. The H is silent, so now I, it translates into there is or there are. Now, kosa means thing, and just as in English, if you add an S, that becomes things. And this word tantas, tantas means so many. So if you combine I tantas kosas, it becomes there are. Since we know that it's tantas kosas is plural, so we'll use the there are version of I. There are. Tantas is so many and things. So I tantas cosas translates into there are so many things. And this word que, that means that. Now there's like another que in Spanish which has an accent that means what? Like for instance, when you say pasar means to happen, que pasa, what is happening? But que, that means that. And entender means to understand. Again, once you know how the words are conjugated, become very easy for you to understand. Entender means to understand. So if you change it to entiendo, that means I understand. I understand. Now, if we combine all these words like hay tantas cosas que no entiendo, is there are so many things that I do not, that I don't understand. So hay tantas cosas que no entiendo. There are so many things that I do not understand. Now, in the beginning, when you see Spanish word and structure, you have to translate in order to get to the meaning. But as you interact with them over and over, they'll become meaningful. And once they become meaningful, they would stick. And again, I can hardly overemphasize this fact that the reading does lead to speaking. In fact, there are millions of people who have learned another language while reading. In fact, I owe my English to, I mean, it may not be perfect. I may not speak perfect English, but I learned English to reading. And I don't remember if I ever was immersed in English or when I was learning or was forced to speak English. Because the thing is that once you read, your mind learns how to process the language. Your mind, because when you're reading, you're putting words together to get the meaning out of the sentence, like you're combining words. So when you're speaking, you're also combining words to build your own sentence. The added challenge with speaking is that you have to recall those words and put them together at the same time. With the reading, you can just you don't have to recall words. If you've seen a word once or twice, you can recognize the word. But in order for you to use the word in speech, you have to have seen it for been like 10 to 15 times. And and again, this level 1 graded reader focuses mostly on the present tense, and occasionally it uses the past tense. And past tense is extremely important for a conversational point of view, because when you talk about things that have happened before. An example would be that you would use the word I met or I told a lot more frequently than I tell or um, uh, I meet. So, and this book does introduces, like the Sunyaran Cream in level 1, it does introduces uh, past tense, but the past tense is used more frequently um, in the level 2 book. And then about confident enough to initiate conversations, because we are good judge of what we can do and what we cannot, and most people do not initiate a conversation because they know they would not be able to maintain it because of a poor vocab or poor understanding of the structure. It all boils down to your ability of being able to build your own sentences. So I hope this sample class was useful, and if you have any question, you can always like contact us via email, or you can call us. And if you have any question, and I hope you have a good day. Adios.